Hi, my name is Katherine. What I'm about to share isn't just a story of betrayal, it's a warning about the things we invite into our lives when we let deceit and guilt fester. This is the story of how a single choice unraveled my life and opened a door to something far darker than I ever imagined. It started innocently enough, or at least, that's what I told myself. My husband, Ethan, and I had been married for 10 years. We had built a good life together, filled with love and stability, but over time, the spark faded. Ethan buried himself in work, and I found myself feeling invisible, unheard. That's when I met Alex. Alex was a contractor we'd hired to renovate the old lakehouse we'd inherited from Ethan's parents. He was charming, attentive, and everything Ethan wasn't. At first, it was just friendly conversation while he worked, but those conversations grew longer, more intimate. Before I knew it, I was making excuses to visit the lakehouse, just to see him. The affair started slowly, stolen moments, lingering touches, whispers of things we shouldn't have been saying. I justified it by telling myself Ethan wouldn't notice. He was too busy, too distant. But deep down, I knew I was crossing a line I could never uncross. One evening, Alex and I were sitting on the porch of the lakehouse, watching the sun dip below the horizon. "This place has a strange energy," Alex said, his voice thoughtful. "Like it's watching." I laughed it off, but later that night, I felt it too. As I lay in bed, I had the eerie sensation of being observed, as if unseen eyes were fixed on me. I told myself it was just guilt, that I was imagining things. But the feeling didn't go away. Over the next few weeks, strange things began to happen. Doors would creak open on their own. The old grandfather clock in the hallway, which hadn't worked in years, started ticking again. At first, I thought it was just the quirks of an old house, but then I started seeing her. It was always out of the corner of my eye, a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the room, her form just barely visible. She never moved, never spoke, but I could feel her eyes on me, cold and accusing. I didn't tell Alex at first, afraid he'd think I was losing my mind. But one night, as we sat by the fire, he suddenly stiffened. "Do you see that?" he whispered, pointing to the darkened hallway. There she was, the figure, clearer now. Her silhouette was unmistakably feminine, her long hair flowing as if caught in an invisible wind. Alex and I stared in silence until she vanished, dissolving into the shadows like smoke. "We need to stop," Alex said, his voice trembling. "Whatever this is, it's not normal." I agreed, terrified of what we'd unleashed, but stopping wasn't enough. The figure followed me home. Ethan started noticing my distraction, the way I flinched at every shadow, but I couldn't bring myself to tell him the truth. One night, I woke to find Ethan sitting at the edge of the bed, staring at the mirror across the room. "Do you see her?" he asked, his voice flat. My blood ran cold. "Who?" "The woman in the mirror," he replied. I looked, and there she was, standing behind Ethan, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. I screamed, and the figure disappeared, leaving only the faint sound of laughter echoing through the room. From that moment, everything unraveled. Ethan grew paranoid, accusing me of hiding something. The figure appeared more frequently, her presence growing stronger, more menacing. She started speaking, not in words, but in whispers that filled the air, promises of retribution, of punishment for what I'd done. Desperate, I returned to the lakehouse, hoping to find answers. In the attic, I found an old journal belonging to Ethan's mother. The entry spoke of a woman named Lila, a scorned lover who had cursed the family after Ethan's grandfather betrayed her. "She watches," the final entry read. "Always watching. She waits for betrayal, and when it comes, she takes what's hers." I realized then that my affair had awakened her, that she wasn't just a ghost, she was something far darker, something bound to our family by the chains of betrayal. That night, I confessed everything to Ethan. He didn't speak, didn't react. He simply stared at me, his face unreadable. Then, without a word, he walked out the door. I haven't seen him since. The police found his car abandoned near the lake house, but there was no sign of him. Alex disappeared the same night. The figure hasn't left, though. She's here, always just out of sight, her whispers a constant reminder of what I've done. Sometimes, I hear Ethan's voice in the whispers, calling for me, begging me to save him. But I know it's too late. She's taken them, just as she promised. Now, I live with the guilt and the shadows. They are my punishment, my constant companions. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've experienced something like this, let me know in the comments. Maybe together, we can find a way to make it stop.